India's union budget for 2026 is out, and it's packed with big numbers and even bigger promises. So, what's the deal? What does it all actually mean for your wallet and for your future? Well, let's break it down. Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to cut through all the noise and the headlines and focus on one simple question. How will all these announcements actually affect your day-to-day life, your savings, and where the country's headed? So, before we get into the nitty-gritty of taxes and spending, we kind of need to understand the why behind it all. What's the big idea guiding all these decisions? Turns out, it all comes down to one core philosophy. The finance minister has built this entire budget around the idea of Kartavya, which basically means duty. Think of it as a philosophy centered on national responsibility. And it's broken down into three main goals that act as a sort of roadmap for everything else. And this right here lays out that roadmap perfectly. It's a three-pronged approach, really. First, put the most vulnerable people first. Second, hit the accelerator on economic growth and create more jobs. And third, build a really strong foundation for what they call Viksit Bharat, or a developed India by the year 2047. Okay, so that's the grand plan, the 30,000-foot view. But how does a big idea like duty actually translate into dollars and cents, or, rupees? Let's zoom right in on the question on everyone's mind. How does this affect my money? All right, this is the part everyone's been waiting for, right? Let's talk about the direct impact on your personal finances. We're talking taxes and what's going to cost you more or maybe even a little less. So, the single biggest piece of news for most of us taxpayers is, well, no news at all, which is often good news. The finance minister announced absolutely no changes to the income tax slabs or rates. So whether you're sticking with the old tax regime or you've moved to the new one, what you paid last year is pretty much what you can expect to pay this year. Stability is the name of the game. Now, this is where things get really interesting. The classic what's cheaper versus what's costlier list. On the cheaper side, you've got things like mobile phones and EV batteries. This makes sense, right? It's a move to encourage manufacturing here at home. But this is the big one. 17 essential medicines for things like cancer and diabetes are also set to become more affordable. Huge. On the flip side, no big surprises here. Things like tobacco products and alcohol are going to get more expensive. Okay, now this next one is a huge deal for a lot of smaller taxpayers. The government is bringing in something called the Nil Deduction Certificate Scheme. Basically, it's a smart, automated system that stops tax from being taken out of your pay, that's TDS, if you're not even going to owe any tax at the end of the year. It's about fixing a problem before it even happens. So how does this actually help you? Well, think about it. If you're a salaried person, a pensioner, or a freelancer, this new system is automatic. That means less paperwork, which is always a win. But the real kicker? It prevents those annoying, unnecessary deductions from your income right from the start. The bottom line for you is more cash in your pocket every single month instead of having to wait for the government to give you your own money back as a refund. It's a big improvement. All right, let's zoom out from our own bank accounts and look at the bigger economic picture. The budget is pumping some serious money into specific areas that are seen as the engines that will power the whole country's growth. Let's see where the money's going. 10,000 crore rupees. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is a massive investment, and it's all being channeled into a brand new healthcare initiative. It's called the Biopharma Shakti Scheme, and it's a huge move to make India a real powerhouse in pharmaceuticals. The idea is to boost our ability to research, develop, and actually make critical medicines right here at home. They're especially focusing on treatments for chronic conditions that affect so many families like diabetes and high blood pressure. The long-term goal here is to make these life-saving drugs much more affordable for everyone over the next 10 years. And that support also extends to the absolute backbone of the Indian economy. For farmers, there's a new AI-based tool called Bharat V-Star designed to help them make smarter decisions. And for the millions of small and medium businesses, the MSMEs that really drive our growth, there's a new 10,000 crore rupee SME growth fund. So it's about giving tech to farmers and a financial boost to small businesses. Okay, let's pull the camera back one more time and look at the really big long-term plays. These are the initiatives designed to get India ready for the future, for that road to 2047 we keep hearing about. You'll hear this phrase a lot woven through the budget, Yuva Shakti, or youth power. And this quote says it all. The government is basically positioning the next generation, what they're calling the Amrit Pidi, as the absolute cornerstone of their entire vision for a developed India. So how do you make that happen? It's not just talk. A new high-powered committee is being set up to connect the dots, all the way from education to employment and entrepreneurship. Its whole job is to close the gap between what's taught in schools and what's actually needed in the job market, with a huge focus on technology, the services sector, and the very real impact of AI. And this vision is backed by some seriously concrete, big-ticket projects. We're talking about a big push in semiconductor manufacturing, so we can build a tech future on our own terms. 7 new high-speed rail corridors to shrink the country. A revitalized mission for sports to find and train our next champions. And even a focus on mining rare earth minerals. You know, the stuff that's inside all of our gadgets.
So, we've gone through taxes, industry schemes, and these huge future-looking plans. After all of that, what's the one big idea we should really walk away with from this budget?
When you boil it all down, this budget is really a delicate balancing act. It's trying to walk a very fine line. On one side, giving some immediate, tangible relief to people and businesses right now, but on the other, it's trying to lay down a solid foundation for decades of growth to come.
And that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? The vision for 2047 is ambitious, it's bold, but the real test, as always, is in the execution. Will these short-term measures be enough to navigate the very real challenges we're facing today while still building that India of tomorrow? That's the question we'll see answered in the months and years ahead.